we have taken upon ourselves to live out to our responsibility to embolden our collective action and collective efforts. We have met with every representative of every delegation of every country because we want to make sure that all the representatives of the international community can benefit from the outcome and can contribute to the outcome of this assembly. Our goal is to achieve environmental stability, because environmental stability is at the heart of all our efforts to achieve peace, foster prosperity, and stability. Let this week's assembly be the beginning of renewing trust in the multilateral system and to focus on protecting the environment, because it is the basis of sustainable development. Let's continue with the success that was achieved by the presidency of the last assembly, Morocco. All the resolutions and the outcome of all conventions, such as the Convention to combat desertification, as well as the the UNFCCC conference in Baku and Brazil. Let's continue with the success that has been achieved by all these conferences so that we can protect the environment globally. Ladies and gentlemen, if we come out of an ambitious declaration as well as successful resolutions and the renewed cooperation, by this we will have further the importance of our assembly and the UNEP program, but we will have rejuvenated the environmental international governance. We have to continue fostering solidarity, fostering a system based on justice. This is based on our belief that whatever we decide today will shape the future. Together we can. We need a more resilient future for our planet. Let us act now. Let's give the environment a new window of opportunity away from politicization and economic profit. Thank you very much, and may the blessings of God be upon you all. Thank you.
I invite the Assembly to view a video message from Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, President of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly.
Like so many of you, I've just returned from COP30 in Belém. I left Belém with two emotions: optimism and urgency. Optimism because despite all the global headwinds, we have reached a positive tipping point. Science and technology have finally given us the tools we need, from rapidly scaling renewables to precision mapping. The world is still doing far too little with the advances before us. We admire the solutions, but we do not yet invest in them adequately. We window shop when we should be investing. Ladies and gentlemen, the numbers speak for themselves, and they are unforgiving. 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded. Climate disasters cost $200 billion every single year. 1 million species are at risk of extinction. And the world produces over 2 billion tons of municipal waste annually. This is not a warning light. It is a full alarm. It is time for actions that match our convictions. Time to confront the triple planetary crisis: climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution with seriousness equal to the scale of the threat. That means resources. It means skills. It means cooperation. On each of these fronts, I commend the UN Environment Programme and this Assembly, you, for pushing forward despite geopolitical headwinds and global gridlock. Because of tireless advocates, we have the frameworks to deliver. On climate, the Paris Agreement and the imperative of 1.5 degrees. On biodiversity, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework and its bold 30 by 30 pledge. On pollution, a global framework on chemicals and ongoing negotiations toward a legally binding instrument to end plastic pollution. These are not just agreements. These are commitments. And they are roadmaps. As I said in Belém, progress is rarely linear. It comes in ebbs and flows. Our task, the task of every champion in this room, is to push hardest when progress slows, to hold the line when momentum fades, to remember that the next breakthrough, the next surge in renewables, and the next turning point may be just beyond the horizon. With that spirit, I wish you positive, constructive, and above all, hopeful deliberations. And I look forward to the adoption of the ministerial declaration.
أشكر معالي رئيسة الجمعية العامة على بيانها، وأدعو الآن سعادة السيد لوك بهادور ثابا رئيس المجلس الاقتصادي والاجتماعي ليتحدث أمام
Your Excellency, the President of UNES 7, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to join you at the 7th sessions of the United Nations Environment Assembly in my capacity as the President of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. Excellencies, we meet at a critical moment. The world is facing a web of interconnected crises. To our utmost dismay, conflicts are growing, geopolitical competition is intensifying, and economic uncertainty is growing, threatening the very foundations of sustainable development. At the same time, the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollutions is accelerating faster than our collective response. Greenhouse gas levels are highest in the human history. Extreme weather is driving millions from their homes. Ecosystems, from coral reefs to forests, are approaching dangerous tipping points. Pollutions from plastic to toxic chemicals is harming our health and economies. These are not abstract threats. They are eroding development gains, widening inequalities, and placing the most vulnerable communities at disproportionate risk. At the same time, we must remind ourselves that progress is possible. The cost of renewable energy has fallen dramatically, making most new renewable capacity added in 2023 cheaper than fossil fuel alternatives. Global protected areas now cover more land and ocean than ever before, signaling a steady movement toward the goals of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And the historic agreement on marine biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdictions represents a decisive step towards safeguarding our nation, ocean. These gains shows that what is possible, what is achievable in political way with science and with collective action. We must continue to work to protect hard-won development gains and accelerate climate actions. UNES offers an essential platform to advance environmental solutions and to uphold the universal human rights to a clean, healthy, and sustainable development. Through its charter-mandated coordinated role, ECOSOC plays a complementary role by fostering collaborations on sustainable development across the UN system and ensuring that global policy commitments are coherently translated into concrete, coordinated actions across its diverse ecosystems. Together, we must continue to strengthen the implementations of multilateral environmental agreements, reduce fragmentations, and deliver more integrated support to member states on climate, biodiversity, land degradations, and pollutions. UNEP's leadership is central to these efforts. As the Global Environmental Authority, UNEP brings science to policy, raises awareness of emerging challenges, and helps ensure that solutions for climate, nature, and pollution are reflected in economic and social decision-making. Its engagement in ECOSOC processes enriches our collective capacity to address today's multidimensional challenges. Excellencies, the guiding principle of my presidency is delivering better. This means reinforcing multilateralism and trust, accelerating progress, and strengthening system-wide coherence. UNES 7, under its theme Advancing Sustainable Solutions for a Resilient Planet, can catalyze transformative actions. Your deliberation must prioritize a strong environmental dimension of a sustainable development, ensuring healthy and prosperous living conditions for present and future generations. The overarching theme of ECOSOC this year aligns closely with UNES ambitions. The outcome of UNES 7 will provide important inputs to ECOSOC's work and to the 26th High-Level Political Forum, which will review SDGs 6, 7, 9, 11, and 17 in depth. I trust your discussions this week will guide how we can deliver more coordinated and impactful support, particularly on the environmental dimension of sustainable development of the 2030 Agenda. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the message is clear. We must accelerate actions. We must move from commitment to tangible results. We must act with courage. We must put justice first. We must invest in innovations. And above all, we must strengthen multilateral cooperations. The choices we make today will determine the conditions of our planet for generations to come. Let us leave this assembly with a clear message to the world. We choose solutions over inactions, resilience over fragility, ambition over delay, courage over incrementalism, and cooperations with multilateralism over divisions and unilateral actions. I look forward to engaging with you throughout the UNES 7 as we work for a resilient, sustainable, and inclusive future for all. Together, we can deliver better. I thank you.
أشكر رئيس المجلس الاقتصادي والاجتماعي على كلمته وفي هذه
Statement. At this stage, I invite the Assembly to view a video message from the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, who was unable to join us in person today.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, friends, our planet is under strain like never before. Temperatures are rising, biodiversity is collapsing, and nearly every person on Earth breathes unsafe air. Yet this assembly offers hope. With just 5 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, UNEA 7 is a moment to invest in resilience, commit to justice, and remember what we are fighting for. Sustainability is the bedrock on which all our ambitions rest. Peace, prosperity, equality, none of these exist without a planet to exist on. As the Global Environment Outlook 7 reminds us, now is the time for courage and creativity. We must rapidly scale solutions on a range of challenges, from water management and climate resilience to mining, metals, and the environmental footprint of AI. Africa, the birthplace of UNEA, is already leading the way. Here, young minds are inventing a sustainable future. Here, sun and wind promise a green revolution. Here, critical minerals can power clean economies if harnessed fairly and sustainably. Excellencies, you meet in turbulent times. Conflict and inequality make meaningful progress for the environment more difficult. But with the tide turning in favor of renewables and the help of the next generation, transformation is within reach. As United Nations enters its 81st year, your work here can remind the world of the power of multilateralism. The UN Water Conference and next year's first Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Summit will offer further chances for action. In the wake of the UN Climate Summit in Brazil, we must fulfill the promises made and close the gaps that remain. Friends, our duty is clear. We must transform broken systems, unite policy with science, and share solutions with all. Let this be the assembly that dare to set humanity on a path to protect our only home for generations to come.
أشكر معالي الأمين العام على تمنياته الطيبة لهذه الدورة بالنجاح، ويسرني الآن أن أدعو المديرة
The United Nations Environment Program, Mrs. Inger Anderson, to address the Assembly.
Your Excellency, William, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency Prosper Bazombanza, Vice President of Burundi, Your Excellency Abdullah Ali bin Amri, President of UNEA 7 and Chair of the Environmental Authority of Oman, Your Excellency Lord Bahadur Tabor, President of the 2026 session of the United Nations Economic and Social Council, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, and friends. Welcome to beautiful Kenya, the gracious host of the United Nations Environment Program for over 50 years. My deep thanks to the people of Kenya and to you, President Ruto, and to the government for the unwavering support that we enjoy from this great nation in our 53 years, calling this place our home. Welcome to beautiful Nairobi, the environmental capital of the world, and welcome to the 7th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, the world's most influential environmental decision-making body. My thanks to the many donors who reach deep and many partners and colleagues who have made this assembly possible, and to all the delegations who have come here in the spirit of dialogue and cooperation. Here at UNEA 7, member states are looking to build on the long history of unity and success, not for symbolism nor show, but to drive a sustainable future, sustainable solutions that are now indispensable for a resilient planet. And why do such solutions matter? They matter because every single member state, every single city, every single business, and every single individual will benefit from a safe climate, will benefit from thriving biodiversity, will benefit from healthy and thriving lands, will benefit from a pollution-free planet. They matter because the environment is not an add-on to development. It is the very foundation on which peace, prosperity, economic growth, and stability rests. Make no mistake, when we undermine that very foundation, we undermine our own future and our own economies and societies. The 3 leadership dialogues, which we are holding today and tomorrow, make this abundantly clear. Human health and planetary health are inseparable. Economic and business and planetary health are also inseparable. The stability of the financial system and planetary health are inseparable. An economy that degrades its own natural capital is, in the end, eroding its own balance sheet. The 7th edition of UNEP's Global Environmental Outlook, which we released this Tuesday, reinforces this point. That report tells us that the environmental challenges have exacted a heavy toll on human, economic, and planetary well-being, claiming millions of lives and costing trillions of dollars each year. If the world continues down this path to extract virgin resources, to rely only on fossil fuels, to destroy nature and pollute the air, land, and water, the damages will and are already quickly mounting. Slashing global GDPs and claiming more lives and worsening inequality and burning through the very natural resources that keep our societies and businesses afloat. But the report also reminds us that there is another future that is still within reach. If we invest in a stable climate, if we invest in a healthy nature, if we invest in good and fertile lands, if we invest in a future, in a pollution-free future, then the world can enjoy significant economic gains, avoid millions of premature deaths, lift hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and hunger, deliver greater equity and climate justice, and so much more. Reinforcing environmental action is not a cause to be postponed. It is the very growth strategy and a justice imperative. Excellencies, this is fundamentally what this assembly is all about. Taking decisions that make lives better for everyone, everywhere. It is about making choices that advance national interests today while safeguarding the interests of the future generation and the unborn tomorrow. It is about proving that multilateralism can still deliver in a world that so badly needs these solutions. And to do this, we must perform a delicate balancing act on a global scale, retain the many advantages that development and technology have really brought, and continue to bring the world while avoiding the unwanted side effects. Side effects that can be deadly and disruptive: extreme weather, droughts, degraded nature, unproductive land, toxic air, and so on. Side effects that are becoming more frequent and with greater intensity and so interconnected that they threaten to reverse the very human development gains that we have made. And because no government can address this alone, because no country can do this on its own, the response must be shared across sectors, across borders, across societies, and across the financial balance sheet at the global level. And this is why everyone here is represented at UNEA 7, business and industry, children and youth, farmers, indigenous peoples, local communities and local governments, non-governmental organizations, the scientific and technological communities, women, workers, and trade unions, and more. And this is also why we have the multilateral environmental agreements and their presidents here, who yesterday gathered to find ways to work closer together and to spark a stronger, faster, and more joined-up action across the environmental challenges that we navigate. This is multilateralism at its very best. Complex at times, of course, but indispensable. Multilateralism has already delivered strong progress on resolutions at this UNEA that member states will now review. Resolutions on safeguarding coral reefs, on the sound management of minerals, which follows the launch of the UN Task Force on the Critical Energy Transition Minerals yesterday, and further resolutions on sustainable solutions through sports and addressing sargassum seaweed blooms and more. Excellencies, colleagues and friends, we all know that the world is operating in an increasingly fractured geopolitical landscapes beneath skies that sometimes are more darkened by the clouds of the environmental crisis. Yet, it is precisely why, in such time, that environmental multilateralism has to show its value. And here in Nairobi, the global community has again and again over the decade demonstrated that it can deliver when it matters most. From the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol that healed the ozone layer, to the new intergovernmental science policy panels on chemicals, waste and pollution born out of this assembly, to the ongoing negotiations on plastic, UNEP and UNEA have shown that cooperation across borders and boundaries and across differences and interests is not only possible, it delivers real, measurable results. So I ask you today to look beyond the storm and to fix your eyes deeper on the horizon, a future that by working together, we can secure a stable climate, we can secure a clean and healthy and sustainable environment, and we can secure a pollution-free world that will benefit every nation and every person and every unborn child. No one is saying that the journey is going to be easy, and it will certainly not be short. But delay will not make the change easier. Every year we postpone ambitious decisions guided by science, the cost of inaction grows, and the cost of human catastrophe grows, and the space for solutions shrinks. So, Excellencies, from this assembly, the world expects signals of determination and solidarity. It expects a multilateral system to work, even as you work to improve it under UN80. It expects you to protect the most vulnerable, not to leave them to face floods and droughts and heat waves alone. It expects you to align your words with actions. So let us assure, when history looks back at this assembly, it will be said that here we chose to act at the scale that these crises demands. Thank you.
أشكر السيدة أندرسون على كلمتها القيمة، وحقيقة موصول الشكر لها ولنائبة المديرة التنفيذية إليزابيث مريما ولكل فريق العمل الذين ظلوا يعملون على مدار
around the clock to facilitate our work and to provide logistics to bring this very important event to success, as well as bring all the other meetings to success. It is my honor to invite His Excellency Mr. William Samuel Ruto, President.
التحدث أمام جمعية البيئة.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency Abdullah bin Ali Al-Amri, President of the United Nations Environmental Assembly and President of the Environmental Authority of the Sultanate of Oman. Your Excellencies, Heads of State, Vice Presidents, Prime Ministers, Ministers present, Ms. Inga Anderson, Executive Director of the United Nations Environmental Programme, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to join you at this high-level segment of the 7th session of the United Nations Environmental Assembly. Your presence here in Nairobi reaffirms UNEA's position as the world's premier forum for shaping collective, decisive, and science-based response to the most urgent environmental challenge of our time. Nairobi is the largest UN compound in the world. It sits on 140 acres. And you will have a taste of environment around this compound. We convene, ladies and gentlemen, only days after the conclusion of COP30 in Belém, Brazil. It was a demanding negotiation, and expectations were not fully met. But a tense global climate, parties managed to keep multilateralism alive and send an unmistakable signal that the green transition is irreversible. Our task here in Nairobi is to translate these signals into concrete, actionable outcomes that address the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. For Africa, climate change is not an abstract debate. It is a daily experience. Just days ago, Kenya was compelled to declare a national drought emergency in 20 counties, leaving our citizens at risk of severe hunger and water scarcity, and as delayed rains and climate stress devastate crops and livestock. Across our continent, from failed harvests to destructive floods, from intensifying storms to conflict worsened by resource scarcity, Africans are paying the price for a crisis they did not create. These extremes are becoming the new global normal. A few weeks ago, Hurricane Melissa struck Jamaica with unprecedented force, causing economic damage that is equal to the country's entire annual GDP. When I spoke to Prime Minister Holness when this hurricane struck, it was clear from his tone that that hurricane was devastating. In Southeast Asia, a single station in Vietnam recorded more than 1.7 meters of rainfall in just 24 hours. A rare cluster of cyclones triggered deadly floods and landslides in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, killing thousands and displacing millions. Annual property losses from natural disasters have now been estimated at US dollars 150 billion. For Africa, these numbers add to the existing burdens of debt, infrastructure deficits, and limited fiscal space. Behind each statistic is a farmer, a small business, a community uprooted. They are the human face of a crisis accelerating faster than our institutions can keep pace. Meanwhile, the global economy is undergoing profound transformation. Artificial intelligence, digital technologies, and electrification are reshaping how we produce, work, and trade. If this transformation is not aligned with environmental protection, equity, and human dignity, we risk building a new high-tech economy on the old foundation of extraction, exclusion, and pollution. UNEA must therefore define the environmental guardrails for this new era of economic transformation. Excellencies, Africa envisions a future anchored in a modern digital and green economy powered by renewable energy, enabled by innovation, and climate-proofed from the start. Our task is to ensure that every investment in industry, in infrastructure, and technology reinforces resilience, protects nature, and creates opportunities for people. We already have a strong foundation. Africa has demonstrated leadership in climate ambition. The Africa Climate Summit held in Nairobi and Addis in 2023 and 2025 reframed the continent not as a victim of climate crisis only, but as a co-architect of global solutions. The decision to bring COP to Addis in 2027 further confirms the shifting center of climate leadership. Even amid immense challenges, cooperation delivers results. 2 days ago, I was at Tsavo, one of our national parks, to launch an operation to protect our black rhinos and to secure the world's largest rhino sanctuary. Just to give you context, Kenya hosts 80% of the world's black rhino population, and has the last two of the northern white rhinos, the last two. So biodiversity loss is not an abstract. It is real. Seeing 100 black rhinos in a single sanctuary is a triumph of dedication, science, and partnership. It is a reminder that when we commit, when we collaborate, and stay focused, we can reverse decline and restore life. Kenya is honored to serve as a convening ground for global environmental governance. Next year will be transformative as we host the 11th Our Ocean Conference to rally commitments for the blue economy, sustainable fisheries, marine restoration, ocean finance, blue carbon ecosystems, and coastal protection. We will also host the International Clean Cooking Summit, recognizing clean cooking as a public health, gender, development, and climate priority. Kenya is further strengthening its engagement in the Congo Basin Initiative, partnering with Central African countries to safeguard one of the world's most important carbon and biodiversity reservoirs. One of the most visible symptoms of the triple crisis is plastic pollution. Plastics now contaminate our soils, our rivers, our oceans, the food we eat, and even our bodies. This threat demands an ambitious and effective international treaty. Kenya remains fully committed to an agreement that addresses plastics across their full life cycle. We commend the International Negotiating Committee for the progress made under extreme complex circumstances. To support the next phase of negotiations, Kenya stands ready to host a resumed session of the INC here at UNEP headquarters, the birthplace of this global effort. Ladies and gentlemen, strengthening UNEP and UNEA is essential to addressing the planetary crisis. As host country, Kenya is steadfast in supporting the consolidation of UNEP's headquarters functions in Nairobi, which is consistent with the Rio +20, the future we want outcome. A stronger UNEP, working closely with the broader UN system, will deliver more coherent, cost-effective, and inclusive global environmental governance. Member states must match their high-level presence here with financial and political support for UNEP and for implementation in every country, in every part of the world. Environmental commitments must be backed by finance, technology, and capacity, especially for countries that are asked to safeguard global public goods while struggling with poverty and limited fiscal space. Excellencies, environmental action and economic transformation must move together. We can decouple growth from emissions and pollution, creating new jobs, industries, and markets. But this transformation must be fair, accessible, and also affordable. It cannot succeed if countries of the global south are asked to protect the planet while their people sink deeper into hardship. Nairobi has always been a city of dialogue, a place where difficult truths are spoken, where consensus is forged, and where compromise is achieved without surrendering ambition. Let this UNEA 7 send 3 clear messages: that multilateralism works when nations show up, negotiate honestly, and act decisively; that Africa will not only bear the brunt of climate impacts, but will also lead in providing solutions; and that we are committed to aligning our economies with planetary boundaries that ensure that jobs, dignity, and prosperity for our people go hand in hand with a stable climate, thriving biodiversity, and a pollution-free future. I urge this assembly to rise to the occasion and take decisions that can be felt in people's lives and seen in our natural world. In doing so, we protect citizens, future generations, and all life that depend on this planet. And because you too deserve to experience the country you help protect, I invite you to take some time to enjoy magical Kenya, our landscape, our wildlife, our oceans, and the warmth of the Kenyan people. In that same spirit, I extend a warm invitation to you to join us tomorrow as we mark 62 years of our hard-won independence, a celebration of our resilience, our democratic journey, and our shared commitment to safeguard the natural heritage that sustains us. I thank you for your attention.
أود أن أشكر فخامة رئيس جمهورية كينيا على بيان
valuable statement. I would like to avail myself of this opportunity and on behalf of myself and my country, the Sultanate of Oman, and all the delegations of the friendly countries from across the world, to wholeheartedly and sincerely express our appreciation to His Excellency the President, the people and the government of Kenya for their hospitality and for being champions of the environmental efforts. This leads us to conclude the opening of the high-level segment. We will now move to national statements under the theme of this session. We will start with the statements by heads of state, vice presidents, and heads of government. In this regard, may I kindly invite our esteemed speakers to limit their statements to 5 minutes. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency Prosper Bazombaza, Vice President of the Republic of Burundi, to address the Assembly.
Excellence Samuel Ruto, Président du Kenya, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, Messieurs les Présidents, distingués délégués, nous rendons grâce à Dieu, le Tout-Puissant, qui nous a permis
enabled us to meet here in Nairobi for the 7th session of the UNEA. And I would like to convey the warmest greetings of His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, who, due to a conflict of his agenda, has not been able to take personal part in this meeting, has given me the honor to represent him here. I would also like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the government of Kenya for its very generous welcome and for the exemplary holding of this session. This session of UNEA is being held under the theme Advancing Sustainable Solutions for a Resilient Planet, is being held at a very strategic time, a watershed in history, following the footsteps of international conferences such as COP30 and also the World Social Development Summit. This provides us with a unique opportunity and for the entirety of the international community to renew its political commitment in facing the triple planetary crisis besetting us: climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and also pollution. As one of the main decision-making bodies worldwide in the area of development, the United Nations Environment Agreement must continue to play the role of a driving force for world environment governance in speeding up the implementation of the existing commitments in the area of climate, biodiversity, circular economy, and also driving forward innovative science-based solutions supporting the Agenda 2030. As is the case with a number of countries on our continent, we also, of course, it goes without saying, are facing the strengthening effects, the burgeoning effects of climate change. And we have an alternance between very severe drought, extreme rains, heavy rains, flooding, also landslides, the loss of crops, and also damage wrought upon our infrastructure. These various phenomena, which are interconnected, require coordinated responses at the national, regional, and international levels. The international vision of Burundi in the area of the environment, which is part and parcel of our strategy, Burundi, emerging country in 2040 and developed country in 2060, is based upon the restoration of ecosystems, the sustainable management of natural resources, the promotion of renewable energy, and the adoption of resilient agricultural practices, reforestation, the fight against deforestation, and the strengthening of the resilience of vulnerable populations. In order to surmount the environmental crises and respond thereto, Burundi is reaching out and calling for the building of strengthened partnerships and also equitable access to climate funding, and also the increased support to developing countries. The world requires concrete actions, and we have to turn our ideas into commitments and our commitments into concrete actions. As we say in Kirundi, Tri Kirundi Twesi Biro Shoboboda. What this means is we are together here, and if we're together, anything is possible. And so, in other words, I'd like to say if we're together here, we can combine our forces, and the expected results will be there. Burundi reiterates its commitment in favor of multilateralism, international solidarity, and sustainable development, which is respectful of the environment and the specific characteristics of every nation. I thank you for your kind attention.